still fun and games until they get death threats when they talk to me. I mean, stuff's being listened to, folks, okay? I mean, that's come out. They've got the NSA not spying on foreign terrorists, on people in government. And somehow you've got to, in fact, I should ask Hagman that because he's about to leave us in a moment, but I wanted to bring Steve Quayle up if he had any questions, for Doug to have the two kind of dovetail together here at the end of our talk with Doug Hagman of the Northeast Intelligence Network, that this is all coming to a head. And we would be crazy to not be concerned about a false flag when this is when the season of that is upon us. So Steve Quayle of SteveQuayle.com joins us because I remember him 2 years ago saying they're going to weaponize drones and use our GPS coordinates to use them against us. Comedy Central played the clip of him on the show and said we were insane. Now it's mainstream news that they're using autonomous drones and Predators and Reapers and what's that other one, Global Hawk, armed, flying around in the future. I mean, I wish Steve Quayle was wrong. But more and more, I've got to say, wow, even the stuff that because he's always been a great mind, incredible talker, great guy to listen to, but you're still kind of like, oh, come on, Steve. And then now it's like, is the other stuff he's saying true? I mean, I know he believes it, but I'm like, my gosh, I know he has these sources, but are they feeding him disinfo? I hope so. I hope this isn't true. Steve Quayle, I don't know how much of the last hour you heard, but what's your take on it all?
Well, right now, Alex, we are absolutely under full-scale occupation by foreign troops under the guise of United Nations, NATO. It is the New World Army. What you've warned about, what you've posted videos about, what Doug writes about, it's all in play now. And, it's amazing because the level of denial and normalcy bias is so accelerating. In other words, I would have thought that all of our combined efforts and all of our would wake more people up. Now, granted, some people are waking up, but all you have to do is realize that the mainstream media is the inoculation mechanism to totally destroy your brain and keep the people from coming to the knowledge of the truth. And here's what the truth is. We are under occupation by the foreign governments. You just talked about the Air Force. The Russians are here. The three statements that they've made publicly, now they're in NORAD, one of our most top secret command centers. They're absolutely supposedly going after the CIA headquarters in Denver as an exercise and the NSA in Utah. The point is, if this wasn't just out of the America series, I don't know what is. And for the record, ladies and gentlemen, all of the critics and shills out there are trying to keep the biggest secret from you in the world. We are under communist, global, Luciferian occupation, soon to go into full-scale warfare. And all that we've warned about, all that we've said is going to happen, the militarization of the police, obviously Alex's appearance at the Bilderbergers, showing you in living color that these entities, I'm going to use that word, Alex, entities exist. The point is, it's rape, pillage, and plunder. The United States is going under. Now, I'm not a fatalist. I'm a realist. But you know what it's like, Alex. You almost have to suspend belief in order to emotionally cope with some of the stuff. But when it all comes rushing to the foreground before your eyes, you can't deny it any longer. Doug's sources are not my sources. My sources are not Alex Jones's sources. You just went on a litany about people are frightened. I can tell you point blank that when generals who are 4 stars say that even they've got to watch what they say, and they've got to be careful. Everybody is at war with each other. And so to the men and women that Doug and I addressed last night on his show that are in uniform, you must stand up for what's right. You took an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Right now, Alex, we've got so many fifth column terrorists in this country. And by the way, terrorists, let me define terrorists. Terrorists is nothing more than a professional group of assassins and general mayhem inducers that are under someone's control, someone's command, and they're being paid. The bottom line is it's insanity to close the northern border with Canada. If you're an American citizen, see how you're treated when you go into Canada, and let the southern borders wide open. The head of the Border Patrol, before he quit a number of years ago, called me and said, Steve, I can't take it. They're putting my men out to slaughter. And you, Alex, have had Border Patrol guys on. We've talked about all this stuff. Listen, Doug's source and my source corroborated, and then I'll turn it over to Doug, how many, if you will, other than Mexicans. This is not an anti-Latino. My best friend in the world was a Latino, and bless her heart, Mary Juarez. The point is that this is an anti-terrorist rant of the fifth column of full-scale warriors, professional warriors coming in through the southern border, and trust me, they speak other languages than Spanish. So Doug and I both got the same numbers of how many were coming through, and we both were in disbelief. Wasn't it, Doug, about, 50,000 a month?
Between 40 and 50, Steve, thousand a month, and that's just one specific narrow area that we know of. There could be others, but I mean that alone is staggering to me. So, but you're 100% correct. And what normal person, what normal security apparatus for the United States would allow this to happen if there was not?
What does your source say the 1.4 billion rounds of ammo are for?
Are you talking to me, Alex, or Doug?
Doug and Steve Quayle, just briefly, because Doug's leaving us.
Let me answer that real quick. My source is told that that's for the private army that is going to be resurrected out of the mayhem that Obama's already gone on record on. You've done shows on it, Alex. You've posted on your website, the New York Times, the Boy Scouts being trained with H&K MP5s. And I actually calculated how many weapons, how many rounds, how many magazines. And it's pretty interesting because, again, we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, the federalization, or let's call it even a better word, the Luciferic control of all law enforcement, global dominance, perpetual war for perpetual peace, and this is the exact setting the Bible sets up in the book of Revelation for the reign and rule of Antichrist. We are going in, Alex, and are already seeing right now the strategic placement. Those billions of rounds, and I've been in the firearms business for 30 years, so I know a little bit about the gun business, know a lot of people all over the country and world, as a matter of fact, and the source that I got it from basically stated this is for the civilian private military that will be raised up under Obama's second term in order to basically squash, and crush all rebellion.
And that's one point. The media is always 450 million, 750 million, 250 million. Since last November, it's 1.4 billion, and that's a month old. They're buying millions more. Now they're classifying it. It's blacked out. We reported on that a few weeks ago. It became a national story on the new ammo, but it's giant black armored vehicles. In fact, I've got photos of them, hundreds of them, armored pillboxes digging in. I mean, you can look at the architecture. It can be secret, but the public intelligence is how they're set up. This is being set up for a war against county and city government, not just against the people. When you look at the configuration, they're preparing to take over state houses. The architecture of this warfare system is pointed at the states.
Absolutely, and every single state capitol building is already marked. It's already basically the teams that are going to take those over are already located, literally, if you will.
The radio, the TV, the Pentagon admits that. The re-education camps, that document's public. Folks, the Army admitted the document we got was real and said we weren't supposed to have it, that it was restricted. Re-education camps, how to process sheet with your Social Security in America with your number into a stinking camp. Steve Quayle is our guest right now, and we have Mr. Hagman with us as well. He's going to leave us here in just a moment. Doug, was there anything else you'd like to add or say to Steve here or ask Steve?
Well, Alex, I just want to say this. Steve has long been a good friend, and our sources now are saying the same exact thing. And I've got to tell you, this is a perfect segue into Steve's segment, because we've talked leading up to this show and compared notes. And I've got to tell you, everything that Steve is about to tell you is consistent with the information I've received from my sources. And I'll just leave it at that. And God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you so much. Look, I've had police call in when they had tanks rolling around St. Louis doing urban warfare drills that they were going to stay in the future, and that they were told, get ready for collapse in late October, early November. And the cop broke down crying, and then later I confirmed it with other sources and confirmed the police officer and information. This is going on everywhere. Special forces operations to acclimate us, to acclimate the military that this is okay. Steve, is it a financial collapse they're getting ready for? I mean, how, from your sources, how is this going to play out, and can we stop it?
You cannot stop it, and it's going to play out because it's designed. You know, not only is the love of money the root of all evil, the control of money is the control of all evil. By choking off everyone's bank accounts, you know, Alex, we talked about a little bit yesterday on your TV show, the Drudge Report carrying the story about the cyber attacks on banks, the true amount of money that has disappeared from customers' account and specific banks, over 200 banks. The real truth is never given in its totality unless you talk to the people that know, for instance, who designed the program that watches banks when they come under cyber attack. So here's how it's going to go down. And this is what I've been told, and this is what's been verified. And for the record, the verifications now will come instantly. You know that, Alex. We'll do a show, or you'll do a show, and 2 or 3 people get a hold of you, and even the people that, and I want to commend your wisdom, do not be drawn out into any field with anybody anytime, okay? They're too good at spoofing identities. They'll give you real information. And I don't know if you know this, Alex, but we really, really prayed for you and your family. I did last night on Doug Hagman's show.
I didn't know that. No, thank you.
I had the, and no, I'm not, this is not to be, you know, anything other than this. Is, look, ladies and gentlemen, Alex is in obviously a position of effectuating information dispersal and change. And I'm talking change, not that will destroy the country, but will save your life. So I want those of you who understand the lateness of the hour to recognize that you asked me a question, Alex. I wish I were wrong. I wish we could stop it. The only thing that we can do right now is prepare for the worst case scenario and understand. This is what I cannot get across to people. You had Graithwall on your show. 50 million people already are assigned to be assassinated when the next power play goes in place. This is it. This is a full, and I'm not apologizing.
Well, that was when he was in the Weathermen, who are like Obama's bosses. I mean, he was in the meeting, and they said, we're going to put 50 million in re-education. We're going to kill 25 million. That's pretty much standard procedure, but that was back in the 70s. Now their plan, you're saying, is to kill even more.
Yeah, 50 to 70. Let me tell you something that's interesting. This is deep background, Alex. And for those of you that want to confirm this to Alex, the President of the United States met with Russian generals at Nellis Air Force Base under the cover of a recent Nevada campaign event. In other words, when you've got to understand this, ladies and gentlemen, our country is sold out. And Nellis is where a lot of the Russians are entering the U.S. by air, and then they're being dispersed by bus all over the country, Minneapolis, St. Paul. And again, Alex, I just want to share something. I've gone to a 24/7 format on my website. This is critical. When I get news updates like this, I post them on my Q alerts. The Q alerts is on the right-hand side of my website. I used to be, you know, only updating like once a day, and that won't work and hasn't worked for some time. So I've gone to being able to post myself and have others that post. So the Q alerts on my website is where all the important stuff happens. And so what I'm telling you, point blank, from the deep background, and I will share this, someone who was at Nellis and saw it happen, you have the President of the United States, when he reached over and told Dmitry, wait until the second term, and I've got more leeway. You even you mentioned that on one of your shows. The bottom line is Medvedev said, I